This channel has analyzed gear before, and the question often was, is something like this different than this? Where the stats on any given attribute are only boosted by, let's say, 2 or 4 points within a sub-bar. We can call these all a sub-bar or tier, basically synonymous, where each sub-bar is filled with 5 points, because we know 25 is the maximum points any attribute can have, and you just count the little notches. So our test today is with Peach mostly, and the speed attribute. Speed is a good one that you can run proper tests on with a stopwatch and whatnot, and we're keeping all test elements the same as we run each one, meaning like the fields, the settings where the other team will just be left alone controlled by a Joy-Con just placed on the desk. Even the jerseys will stay the same each time. Because hey, what if blue is a faster color than red, alright? We gotta keep all the variables the same. So generally what you're seeing here is that adding 2 points to your speed is not gonna appear to change things, but it does actually change it by the smallest of differences. We're talking mere hundredths of a second. 13 speed Peach, for example, ran 1300ths of a second slower than 15 speed Peach. You're gonna see the 15 speed Peach run 1400ths of a second slower than the 17 speed Peach here. The reason for that math being 1 off on those hundredths is simply because of the iPhone or the Apple stopwatch app here. You can see when I slow it way down here that it skips certain hundredths of a second in its count because they go so fast, right? So it's a discrepancy that is literally unnoticeable in the game when we're talking only about 1/100th of a second difference right here, like with the timer. But we see this as we continue to step up Peach by 2 each time. We can play these ones a little quicker. It's just notice you'll see very little difference in a 17 versus a 19. Then a Peach at 19 and 21. Then 21 versus 23. See where I'm going with this? They all consistently fell in that 13 or 1400ths of a second time difference. And so when people would ask, is there any difference between stats within the same sub-bar or tier? You can now tell them that there is if you want to be technically correct. The best kind of correct. But it's simply by mere hundredths of a second that really don't make the difference on the field or even really feel noticeable. So the word is more negligible rather than completely non-existent. But here's where we notice it more. It's not huge on a difference of 13 speed Peach compared to maxed out 25 speed Peach because it's almost 70 hundredths of a second, meaning that we're getting close to 1 whole second. But the lowest that Peach can go down is 10 speed because her innate speed stats are a bit high. So here, look, a 10 speed Peach compared to the maximum of a 25 speed Peach, it gets really dang close to a whole second right here. And so believe it or not, that's more noticeable on the field than it sounds on paper, quote unquote. But alright, I know what everyone's probably thinking. So what's the actual difference between the slowest that you can go in the game compared to the fastest? Here it is. Bowser at 2 speed is the slowest. You can pick any of those heavyweights that have an innate speed of 9, and then you just apply gear that brings them down to the lowest possible speed, and the test would be the same basically. So 2 speed Bowser compared to 25 speed Peach here. The difference between the two comes out to 1.91 in the seconds and hundredths. Being that that's nearly 2 whole seconds, we should actually note one more time the key takeaway here. Let's kind of summarize with this. Micro changes in speed will be practically non-existent as the difference between 2 or 4 points in the same sub-bar is only mere hundredths of a second. But larger changes in speed that bring your character up at least 2 tiers or 2 sub-bars may not look or even sound huge on paper, quote unquote, but can definitely be felt and noticed on the field in-game. You have to remember how quickly a decision or a maneuver can turn the tides in this game, and that boost in speed will make a difference when it's a bit more drastic, but it'll probably make very little difference when it's less drastic. So there, I think that's a good summarization. Feel free to click an end screen on screen to see another video, and thanks for viewing.